Hello class, this is the second lesson on content for Catching Dreams, and today we're talking about dreams, mythology, and symbolism. So essential questions are: what is a dream? Why do people dream? What is the role of dreams in Native American culture? What is the story of the Dreamcatcher, and why was that so important? So dreaming itself happens during the REM or REM phase of sleeping. That stands for rapid eye movements. So at this stage of sleep, which usually happens after you go through stage one, where you're just kind of falling asleep, and then you go into stage two, where your body and your heart starts slowing down, and then you start the REM sleep. Your eyes move like you're seeing things. Your brain acts like you're seeing things or responding to things. And dreams themselves are usually involuntary. They can be images or sounds, sensations, tastes, even smells. And that happens to your unconscious mind when you're resting and asleep. People sometimes think that dreams are always pictures, and that's not true. Some people never dream in pictures. They just dream in other senses, like smell. So if you look over at those sleep stages, you go through those sleep stages all night long. You cycle through them. The stage 3 and 4, which comes after the REM sleep, after you are kind of been dreaming for a while, then you go into your deep sleep and things start happening and your brain starts releasing hormones. And some of those hormones are growth hormones. They help your body and your brain to develop correctly. And the best time for those are in the early morning, when the sun has just come up and there's a little bit of daylight, but you're still asleep and it's a deep sleep. Your brain will start releasing those, and it's really good for you. That's why teenagers have a natural inclination to sleep later. It's your body telling you to do that. And that's also why if you're woken up suddenly in the morning, you are usually kind of groggy and cranky, and you may not feel real good for a while. So officially, yes, you should sleep in at least a little bit. Okay, so we don't really know why people dream. So theories are mainly focused on how your brain codes knowledge and how it processes things like your experiences and links it to previous information and knowledge and your imagination. We do know from testing that a majority of mammals dream. We don't know what they dream about, of course, but they do have REM sleep. There are a few birds and reptiles that have been studied in dream. Crows dream. And you have probably seen your dog or cat dream. And when they're dreaming, their eyes can twitch, their paws can move, they can snarl, they can bark, little soft barks. Horses dream. You may not know, but you might know, because we have lots of horses around here, that horses, in order to get into a deep sleep, they actually do have to lay down. But because they're prey animals, there's always one in the herd that's awake, keeping an eye out for possible predators so somebody else can have a good nap. Cows are the same. That's why if you have a solitary horse or cow or animal like that, it's hard for them to have a really good sustained deep rest unless they have some sort of companion. You might say that you don't dream, but that's not true. You do dream. You may not remember your dreams, but you do. Because if you don't enter REM sleep, you don't descend into the deeper sleep. And if you don't dream, you start having really bad issues. You start hallucinating. Your bodily systems start breaking down because your body cannot get rid of toxins correctly. You lose your thought processes. You can become confused and worried and unable to think things through correctly. And eventually, yes, you can die from lack of sleep. And there's actually a Japanese word for it that's kiyoshe, something like that. So the role of dreams in Native American culture, it was a very important part and is an important part of their spiritual belief. And it's not all of the dreams, but some of them. It's their gateway to different parts of their existence, and it's a place for ancestors and spirits to give guidance, information, healing, and all sorts of other things. And in the picture, you are seeing Black Elk. He's the fellow on the left. He was an important spiritual leader during the time period that we are studying. And if you might read some of his works in class, or if you go to college, you'll probably read Black Elk. He wrote a lot about the Native perspective and dreaming and all of those things from the standpoint of somebody who was alive during this time. So when you have dreams of importance, they are shared and they are interpreted. And when a dream is interpreted, that means it's looked at as symbols. So if you have something like a window, it may not be an actual window that you're going to encounter, but it might represent your ability to look from your perspective into another's perspective, or the window could be open, allowing things to go back and forth, etc. And there's lots of information on dream symbols out there. Google it. But the symbols are decoded to get to the meaning of the dream, and that's from a cultural perspective. The way that a Native American might decode dreams is different from a way that one of us might do it, or somebody in Europe or Haiti or where have you. And depending upon the dream and the dreamer, the dreams could be seen as having great importance. What is happening over there in the picture is the ghost dance, and that was a very important ceremony, and it was based on some interpreted dreams. And even though the natives at that time had been moved to a reservation and they had no weapons or anything like that, and a lot of them didn't speak the same language because they were intermixed tribes from really different places, they had the ghost dance. Some of the medicine men had dreamed about this, and it was a dance to kind of honor their ancestors that had died during the wars and to ask them for help and guidance. It was not favored upon by the army, and it resulted in some bad things. So the story of the Dreamcatcher, and there are lots of different stories about this, depending upon what tribe you're going with. Again, we are working with the Sioux. Long ago, an elder had a vision that he was visited by the spider spirit. The spider spirit sat with the elder, and while the spider was working on the web, they just had a conversation. And they talked about the circle of life, and the many things in it, the good things, the bad things, the things you catch and hold on to, the things that you let go. And Spider spoke about all of these forces and spirits from different directions. They are all have abilities to help a person or harm a person, as the case may be. And when Spider finished spinning the web, they said it could be used to help the dreamer be influenced by the good spirits. And Spider showed how there was a web inside the hoop, and in the middle there was a round opening. And Spider said, good spirits will enter the webbing and leave behind important thoughts and good ideas. Bad spirits will be confused and run away through the hole. And over on the right, you can see what is kind of a natural dream catcher, where between two branches, a spider has spun a web, and there is that opening in the middle. Now that story of Spider is assimilated throughout the tribes. So because these stories arose about Spider as one of the spirits in different places at different times, but when the tribes were intermingled, they recognized the stories. They were the same. And in the Sioux, the Spider is Itakomi, who is a male trickster spirit. And then there is Grandmother Spider of the Hopi in the Southwest. And both of those, the male and female spider, occur in different tribes with slightly different names. But they do pretty much the same thing. The spider has given the gifts to humans to help protect themselves when they sleep. We're talking about Dreamcatchers. Other stories have Spider teaching humans how to use fire, how to build a teepee, all of those sort of protective nighttime issues. Over on the right, you have one of the top is the Shell Gorget, and this is actually from the Hopewell period, which is prehistoric, pre-tribal period. But it has the symbol of the trickster spider, and you can see the spiders here, and there is his web. And then below it is a Hopi pot with Grandmother Spider on it. And the story flip-flops according to which one you're listening to. Some of them have the good spirits left behind in the web and the bad spirits escape. And sometimes the bad spirits are trapped in the web and can't get out, and the good spirits go free. Some of the reasons that it's important: it serves to protect the dreamer from bad spirits. It's given to a baby at birth, and it's critical to the baby's spiritual and physical development because it protects the baby from having negative influences on it while it's sleeping. And as the baby grows, eventually the Dreamcatcher falls apart. It's normal. It's seen as a sign that the Dreamcatcher is working and that it's full. And then they create a new one based on the person's qualities and their age and what the person is like. What have they become as they've gotten older? Over on the right here, you see an infant in a cradle board, and they're swaddled up and they have the cover, and then hanging down are various charms, including a Dreamcatcher that's sort of hard to see. And then on the bottom is a very rare existing Dreamcatcher from this time period. Most of the Dreamcatchers of that time period it's very hard to find them. For one thing, they were not meant to be permanent objects, and they were meant to disintegrate over time, which they did. And then also, they were purposely taken away and destroyed because it was viewed as a threat. And they were outlawed until 1977-78. So your assignment for today is Sweet Dreams. So you need your Chromebook and traditional or digital drawing materials of your choice and a dream. And you have a choice of what to do. Both of these are based on a dream that you have had, or if you can't remember one you had, ask other people. Somebody's got to remember your dreams. And I usually remember mine. If all else fails, ask me. Mine are kind of wild, though. So, you have a choice. Number one, you could interpret the dream. So, listen to the dream or think about the dream. Write it down and try to explain what it means. And if you're doing the interpretation, you can Google dream symbols. Just remember they change with personal and cultural reference. Or you can just figure it out what you think it should mean. The second thing that you could do is to create a dreamscape artwork that is based upon the dream. You can use digital drawing if you want to do that, or collage, or you could do it traditionally and upload it. And on the right here, we have one of the most famous paintings ever of a dream. It's Fusellini's painting The Nightmare that was done in 1781. And it shows sleep paralysis. which is when you are sleeping and you feel like somebody is sitting on you or staring at you and you can't breathe correctly, and you want to wake up because it's very scary, but you can't move. And a lot of times people will hallucinate in this state and see shadow people and things of that nature. So here we have the young woman who's sleeping very dramatically, and the monster is sitting on her, and in the background there is our friend the nightmare. Alright? So if you need to, go take a nap, have a nice dream, and then do your job. Thanks.